It was all about championships on the black and gold brand last night, with the emphasis firmly on the gold. However, it was a substance far less valuable than atomic number 79 that we'd be talking about by the end of the night. Let's talk about it. Your money or your life. This is NXT Graded. First of all, a massive thank you to Andrew for supply teachering NXT for the last couple of weeks. Keys, stroke the oak, etc. Join Andrew Monday nights at 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time at twitch.tv/Cultaholic. You'll be glad that you did. William Regal starts off with some huge announcements. The first one being we are getting a 2-night takeover. NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver comes to us on the Wednesday and Thursday before WrestleMania. Interesting use of an Adam Ant song. Mind you, WWE have always liked the new stuff, haven't they? The new Blackjacks, the new Rockers, the new Romantics. Yeah, it's in keeping. The second huge announcement regards the women's division, who are all assembled up the ramp for this next part. William Regal brings Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez to the ring and says, as a result of the shenanigans in the women's tag team title match from just the other week, he's going to right a wrong, and he awards Kai and Gonzalez the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez are speechless initially, but they become baddies pretty quick, running down the entire amassed women's roster until Shotzi, Blackheart and Ember make their presence felt, step into the ring and say, since you're champions, you need challengers, and we're challenging you for those belts tonight. Regal loves this idea. So we've got our first ever match for the women's tag team titles of NXT. That's happening a little bit later on. Excellent stuff. Giving this opening segment a B+, not quite an A. Nothing overly to do with the people involved in it. I just think that this seems like a clumsy way to get the women's tag team titles involved. Could you not have just had them be the prize for the end of the Dusty Cup? Could that not have been a more intriguing way to do it? That's my only thought on this. But the segment itself was good, delivered well enough. I'll give it a B+. Our first match of the night is a title match. This has been several weeks in the making. This has the NXT Women's Championship on the line. Io Shirai defending against Toni Storm. And Storm weathers an early run by Shirai, cuts off an Asai moonsault to the outside, and ends up throwing her into the steel steps before the break. And she's in charge when we come back from the break as well. A Tiger Feign kick from Io Shirai, followed by a missile drop kick, starts to change things, but Storm will rally with a superplex off the top rope to change things once again. Shirai once again pushes back into it with a beautiful moonsault outside of the ring. She goes for 2 over the moonsaults in the ring, both of them missing. The first one, Storm stops before she even hits it and ends up hitting her with a sit-out powerbomb for a near fall. The second one she rolls out of the way of and avoids, and then follows up quickly with Storm 0, but only gets a 2. Storm goes up top to hit a diving headbutt soon after this, but Shirai moves out of the way, locks in the crossface, a move that she'd applied a few times during this match, and Storm taps out. And just like that, Io Shirai has retained her NXT Women's Championship. I'm giving this a B. I thought it was a decent match, but it felt really rushed. This is a match they built for several weeks, and I don't really feel like it got the time and the energy that it deserved. I felt like they had to speed through quite a lot of spots here. For all the hype that it got, I thought this would have had more of a featured spot on the show. This just felt like a bit of opening match fodder, and it deserved at least another 5-10 minutes to really get it going. But this is apparently a crowded show, and that's not happening. But I felt a bit underwhelmed by it. It was still good though. Finn Balor addresses Adam Cole. He says that tonight there's no blindsides, no cheap shots, no Undisputed Era around him. He says to Adam Cole that he beat him for this title and he will beat him to keep it later. LA Knight backstage as well says he's looking for somebody with the tingle in their loins to face him in his debut match. He is grabbed by the scruff of his neck by Bronson Reed, and security pulled them both apart. Looks as if they're heading towards Reed versus LA Knight, which I'm not mad about at all. They could make some magic together, those two. Jake Atlas takes on Pete Dunne next. This is a good effort by Atlas through this one. Hits some real fast springboard offense to keep Pete Dunne at bay, but as he goes for a head scissors, we see Pete Dunne boot him in the liver, and there sees the tide turn in favour of Dunne, who starts to bend and break and snap, crackle and pop the fingers and the hands and the arm of Jake Atlas for a big part of this match. Atlas manages to find a way to counteract a Dunne's offense, hits a German suplex, a standing moonsault and a lariat, but as he's going for that rainbow DDT, he gets an uppercut from Pete Dunne, and this leads to Dunne taking him to the ground, stomping him in the head and applying that finger-breaking armbar for the tap-out win. After the match, Pete Dunne, flanked by Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, gets on the mic and says he is the greatest technical wrestler in the world today, and he challenges anyone to prove him wrong. This was a B- here. A good outing for Atlas. This was very much mainly a showcase for Pete Dunne and his intensity, but I thought it gave Atlas a fair bit in here as well, and a real ruthless aggression about Pete Dunne right now. And a few people have obviously drawn some comparisons with the Prove Me Wrong line with another wrestler who used to use that line, and I quite like the fact that Pete Dunne is looking to maybe reclaim that and have that kind of energy to him. Like, I like this aggressive Pete Dunne, and it's tantalising to see where he will land on the TakeOver card. Imperium are addressing Timothy Thatcher and the offer they made him to come home. You see, Thatcher was originally part of this setup back when they were called Ring Camp, though, but they're called Imperium now, and they always have been, so shoosh. They say if he wants to check with his little buddy if it's okay, referring to Ciampa, they invite Ciampa to join them as well. And I won't lie, I quite like the idea of Tommaso Ciampa shaving every part of his head and joining Imperium. That's quite an intriguing proposition. I'm not saying he would. Be quite interesting to see, wouldn't it? Maybe. As somebody who grows his beard on the regular and then shaves it and immediately regrets it, maybe I shouldn't be saying that. Leon Ruff does a bit very close to camera next, and he says he resents what Swerve has been saying about him, that he's been handed stuff. He's had to scratch and claw to get everything that he has. He says he's been holding Swerve's house down since he got here, and Swerve can expect a rough landing when they fight next week. Really glad this is still bubbling over. I like the stuff they were doing a couple of weeks ago before I went away, and I'm glad they're keeping it going here. I like it a lot. The NXT Women's Tag Team titles for the very first time are being defended now. It is Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez defending against Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. Right, the first bit of this match is a bit weird, because one of the first spots we see is Shotzi Blackheart put a Texas cloverleaf on Dakota Kai and really wear down on it. Kai trying to reach the ropes, Shotzi pulling her away each time, to the point where eventually Kai makes that heroic grab for the ropes to break the hold. They then both go for a double drop, both go for a drop kick at the same time. They get a double down, and then we go to our first break. That kind of felt like a spot that you'd have near the end of the match as opposed to right at the very beginning. That was strange. When we come back from break, though, Gonzalez has tagged in and out and got things moving in the bad guy direction. And Shotzi, however, is able to fight back against Dakota Kai. Tag to Ember Moon, who runs wild with some really crisp, unique slams here. Shotzi dives through the ropes, nearly brains herself on the announce table as per. Take it easy, Shotzi, but she's out of commission for a brief moment here as Ember Moon gets double teamed by Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. We see a tandem go to kick, get a near fall, and we see a big backbreaker powerbomb from Gonzalez. The cover getting broken up by Shotzi, who makes it just in the nick of time. From here, we see Ember and Shotzi once again teaming back up. and really laying it into Dakota Kai. Nice wheelbarrow suplex gets a near fall. But here's Gonzalez once again, this monster on the horizon who just stops the rot every single time. Ember Moon goes for the eclipse off the top rope, gets caught by Gonzalez, doesn't finish the rotation, and Gonzalez holds her up there. Gonzalez is trying to powerbomb Ember Moon. Ember Moon is trying to head scissors out of it. It's not happening. They're fighting, they're tussling with Ember Moon on Raquel Gonzalez's shoulders. We see Shotzi and Dakota Kai fighting, and Shotzi throws Kai into Gonzalez. They both go curtling over the top rope, do Gonzalez and Moon, and in the confusion, Shotzi rolls up Dakota Kai, 1, 2, 3, and Shotzi and Ember Moon are the new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. We've had a title defense. Gonzalez and Kai lasted about an hour as champions. There you go. Giving this match a B. It was a weird opening, sure, but once they came back from the break, they found their stride and they all worked really, really well throughout bits of this one. I'm just very confused by the presentation of the women's tag team title in NXT. As I said earlier, it just seems strange to have them awarded it tonight and lose it on the same night, whether they're just going for a bit of a surprise booking. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Nobody expects the changing of a title on its first night. That's what I meant to say. But it's just, could you not have maybe had it so these titles were the prize for the winners of the Women's Dusty Cup? You could have got a fairly meaty reign out of Gonzalez and Kai before losing them here. That's where you're going. Seemed a bit strange. But the match itself was good. It was good. Give it a B. Adam Cole backstage says last week he put Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong in their place, and says tonight to Finn Balor, if he thought he was impressive as NXT champion first time round, he hasn't seen anything yet. Adam Cole is promising victory in the main event later on tonight. Up next, after an emotional celebration backstage with the entire women's locker room, we see Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell booing the new women's tag champs, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. They're crying to Johnny Gargano that it should have been them that won it, not her. Austin Theory turns up. He's a little bit frazzled by recent shenanigans with Dexter Lumis and some shenanigans with his therapist. Gargano tries to psych him up and get him focused, saying that Dexter Lumis has been going around telling people that he, Austin Theory, has a mediocre abdominal area. Theory, livid by this, rips his shirt off and storms off to look for Dexter Lumis. That's the only bit of action from The Way that we get tonight. I was just a bit sad. I quite like seeing more of The Way, be that as it may. Back in the ring, Kayden Carter is facing Xia Li. Kayden Carter is sans Kacy Catanzaro tonight. She got injured at the hands of Xia Li the other week, it seems, and she's not there tonight, at least for now. As Xia Li gets into the ring, Kayden Carter immediately drop kicks her and gets some big kicks in and actually looks competitive against Xia Li, to the point where Xia Li is begging off of Kayden Carter and has to use a cheap shot to get back into the match, which is kind of, we'll talk about that in a minute. Lee does get back into this one, and as she does, Kacy Catanzaro makes her way out to ringside to cheer on Kayden Carter. She's there, and just as she gets there, Xia Li spots her and says, right, this is for you. And in the corner of the ring, she starts stomping on the leg of Kayden Carter, trying to injure Kayden the same way that Kacy has been injured. Kacy's not having this. She grabs her crutch that she was using to keep herself upright and smacks it over the back of Xia Li, resulting in a disqualification. Kacy gets into the ring and Xia Li is begging off in the corner, and Kacy just goes wild, swinging with this crutch, swinging it at Xia Li and screaming at her all the way. Boa gets into the ring to stop this nonsense, pulls the crutch away and breaks it because he's a boss. And then Kayden Carter attacks Boa from behind, and Team KC make a run for it, whilst Boa and Xia Li look very miffed with the whole thing. Oh, I hate to do this, but I'm giving it a D. I don't like to see Xia Li on the back foot just yet, especially not against Kayden Carter, and especially not against Kacy Catanzaro on one leg with a crutch. Like begging off and low and cheap shotting, just no. I wanted to see Xia Li dominant for much longer than this. It just felt like this felt too soon to show any weakness in Xia Li. I would quite happily have her go a whole year without taking a lick of offense against her. I would have quite happily, without taking any moves, basically. I'd have been happy with that. But I didn't think this was the right thing to do. I would have rather have just had Xia Li injure Kayden Carter the same way she injured Kacy Catanzaro and then call it a day at that. That'd have been quite a powerful statement. But I didn't like. We'll see how this pans out. This could all just be a weird dream. It could be. But I didn't like Xia Li showing weakness, and the match itself wasn't terrible. I'm just grading this on the booking more than anything else. Sorry. Jordan Devlin reveals that his travel ban has been lifted and he will be on NXT in the Capitol Wrestling Center next week. We hear next from Zoe Starks, who talks about how wrestling was a big part of her life when she was growing up. She had a rough upbringing and wrestling was an escape for her. She talked about how she started wrestling training the first chance that she got and how it's her dream to be a part of WWE and be a part of NXT. And she says she's ready to face anyone and any style. There's no limit to what she can do and where she can go. I'm really up for seeing more from Zoe Stark. The one thing I said last week was, well, the week before, last time I was on, was that I want to see some more meat on the bone storyline wise for Zoe Starks, and we're getting some, which is good. Which is very, very, very good. We've got Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde next. They are facing off against the Grizzled young veterans in tag team action. Santos Escobar not joining his Legado del Fantasma lads at ringside. He's having an argument with William Regal about Jordan Devlin's announcement earlier on. The GYV run down Legado del Fantasma, calling them Santos Escobar's puppets. James Drake gets on the mic here as well and is promising to do horrible things to Legado. Good to see them letting James Drake have a chat here. They don't really get out of the blocks to the GYV because Legado start really hot and really strong. And before this match can really go anywhere, we suddenly hear music, like noises playing around the CWC, and two astronauts walk out onto the stage. And for all intents and purposes, it's Breezango dressed as astronauts. Oh, this is fun. They take off their space helmets, and it's not Breezango, it's MSK. It's Lee and Carter. They're back. This distracts GYV, leads to a roll-up from Joaquin for the 1-2-3 on James Drake, and Legado del Fantasma win the match. We see MSK go for GYV. After this, we see Wes put Zach Gibson's hand on the steel steps and smack the space helmet on top of it, and Gibson just screams blue murder at this point as well. As this is going on in the ring, Breezango appear. The actual Breezango appear, and they attack Legado del Fantasma and send them packing. And then we get MSK and Breezango having a little hangout in the center of the ring, like good mates. A nice little gathering of the good guys here. Giving this a C, there was nothing really to the match. It lasted not that long at all. It was all about some of the storyline elements around it, and it was fine, serviceable. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai are livid backstage about losing their tag titles, but they don't have time to seethe very long because here's Io Shirai sizing up Raquel Gonzalez and saying, "I want you next." Gonzalez says, "Be careful what you wish for." And just like that, Kai and Gonzalez are not bothered about the women's tag titles anymore. They've got to focus on this bad boy instead. So we're getting Shirai and Gonzalez down the road, possibly at TakeOver Stand and Deliver night 1 or 2, and I'm good with that. They can have some fun together, those crazy cats can. Thatcher is interviewed backstage, asked about Imperium's proposition, but he doesn't get a chance to answer because here comes Tommaso Ciampa, who says they shouldn't be worrying about Marcel Barthel, Faber Nightmare, and Alexander Wolf. They should be worrying about the Emperor across the pond. Oi, Ciampa, oi! Don't you tease me. Don't you tease me with Ciampa versus Volta. Oh, Dunne, that's naughty. Don't do that. Ciampa says next week it needs to be Toothless Tommy and Old Man Ciampa facing Imperium. Cool. And he leaves. And Thatcher's just stood there. He hasn't said a word. And he's pulling his beard and doing the thinking face. Could Thatcher return to the warm, glowing, warming glow of Ring Camp / Imperium? I guess we'll find out very, very soon. It is main event o'clock, the NXT title on the line. Finn Balor defending against Adam Cole, baby. Adam Cole is wearing the same ring attire that he wore when he won his first NXT title. Read into that what you will. Aggressive Techers starts this match off with Adam Cole cranking up the aggression as they're coming out of the break. Balor can't seem to get the motor running over Adam Cole, who seems to keep shutting the champion down. down. He manages to hit a final cut to get a near fall, but then we see Adam Cole end up rolling out of the ring and hitting a pump kick on Balor through the ropes. He then decides to, I'm going to do that brainbuster onto the steps onto Balor like I did to Kyle O'Reilly. La 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 la. Doesn't get a chance to. Finn reverses it into a suplex onto the steel rampway instead. When we come back from the last break, they are striking each other left, right and centre. This is getting really aggressive here. We see Finn Balor go for the coup de grace. He misses and Cole lands a super kick for a near fall. And you see a close-up of Finn Balor's face. Like, he looks genuinely terrified about how much that kick hurt, how close that was to him losing the title. It's a really good visual there from Finn Balor holding that ever so injured jaw. Cole then gets a cross facing on Finn Balor for ages. Balor is able to eventually break out of it, but cannot land the 1916 as he hoped. He ends up getting a last shot and a Panama Sunrise. Both get near falls. Finn Balor stays in the match though. As Cole runs at Balor, Balor uses his momentum against him and sends Cole flying out of the ring. And as Cole is getting back to his feet, he sees something in the crowd that makes him go white as a sheet. And lo and behold, it's Kyle O'Reilly walking towards him looking livid. Livid. Balor takes the moment of distraction to hit the 1916 outside the ring, rolls Cole into the ring, hits the coup de grace for the 1-2-3. Finn Balor has retained his NXT title. O'Reilly jumps into the ring at this point and starts stalking Adam Cole. Cole coming to is begging off from Kyle O'Reilly, then goes for a low blow. Riley grabs his hand and Riley slowly peels off the Undisputed Era armband. Just like that. Earlier on in the night, Adam Cole said, Undisputed Era is dead when I say it's dead. Kyle O'Reilly pulling that cloth off of the arm of Cole took that decision away from him. We've changed there's been a lot of gold moved around tonight, but that pulling of the cloth was something that really, really made an impact on this show. O'Reilly then just wails on Adam Cole. Fighting outside the ring, goes for that brainbuster onto the steps, the one that took O'Reilly out of the game nearly. Here come the refs and the officials to break all that nonsense up. They end up fighting out of the shot here, leaving Finn Balor alone in the ring with the championship over his shoulder. Crowd are cheering. Finn Balor looks this way, and he looks that way. He doesn't look behind him. And he just says, what took you so long? Camera pans out, Killer Kross is stood behind him. And they size each other up to end the show. Woo! A+. This whole last segment, the match, the angles, all around it, A+. Balor and Cole had an exceptional match for the NXT Championship. Exceptional work from those guys. Really grafted in this one, told some great stories throughout it. The final bit where we see O'Reilly and Cole fighting, the removal of the armband, quite a ceremonial moment that was. Quite a watershed moment in this rivalry. Kind of like, we're not brothers anymore, I'm gonna have you. That was great. And then Balor, the most subtle push towards that match. Not just knowing at that moment the Kross was behind him without even having to look. Like, that was great. So we've set up, potentially we've set up the main event for Stand and Deliver Night 1 and Night 2. Let's go no DQ, balls to the wall with Cole and O'Reilly. And let's get Balor and Kross for the title. That's Night 1, that's Night 2. I'm cool with that. Great way to end the show. And overall this week, I'm going to give NXT a B. It was a real mixed bag tonight. There was some stuff that didn't land as much as personally I would have hoped. Be that some of the stuff with the women's tag title and sort of the introduction of that. Be it the stuff with Xia Li, which made me a bit sad. See that going down. Also the Toni Storm Io Shirai match, which was very good. Oh, it felt like it was going to be a big part of the show, and really it was sort of like just like a crowd warming match. It felt weirdly placed, that did. I think it was sort of lost in the shuffle when they introduced the tag title on tonight's show as well. It kind of got lost in the shuffle there. Had they not done the women's tag title stuff, I believe Storm and Shirai would have taken more prominence. And that main event just absolutely boosts this grade up for me. It was excellent work from everybody involved, and in every capacity. This was great. We're heading to 2 nights of TakeOver in April, and I have to admit I am very, very excited. Very excited. Despite the strangeness of calling it Stand and Deliver. A classic song about a dandy highwayman who spends his cash looking flash and all the other lyrics. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.